Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Getting Unstuck with Misfits Unplugged. We are helping highly motivated hustlers achieve success and overcome career hurdles. We are two minority women with a combination of corporate America and street starts, bringing simplified business concepts to everyone.
Woo-hoo! Yes. And if you are feeling stuck in your career and don't really have a plan or just trying to figure out what it is that you want to do and need to do to get to the next level, then you want to listen to Misfits Unplugged because we're going to be giving you little nuggets on the way to help you on your path to success.
Yes. So I'm Izzy.
I'm Brandy.
All right, BK, episode number 5. So what do we have in store for these awesome people today?
Well, so I think that we need to talk to people a little bit because I know that people here in our intros and outros and in our taglines about helping highly motivated hustlers get unstuck. And if you go to our website and you've read our bios, then you know that part of that verbiage is, you know, that Isabella and I are two minority women with a combination of street smarts and corporate. So I don't know that our listeners really understand how those two things come together and how we use our backgrounds and the adversity that maybe you and I have gone through to kind of get where we are. So I think this is an awesome opportunity to just talk about where we're from, you know, what street smarts means to both of us and how it's helped us in our careers.
Yeah. So when we came together, we were like, what is the name that encompasses who we are? So Misfits, you know, I'm a joking, never take anything serious type of person. Brandy, since the day I met her, talked about her 13 plus tattoos and what that looked like in the in the workplace. I mean, you can't see my shirt, but you know, we got all sorts of stuff happening over here.
Isabella is tatted up too. Okay.
I was talking about the next tattoo I want on my shoulder, and I was like, okay, wait, I can't. That's like, so, you know, so we're misfits just because you can't put us in a box. We're, you know, not the conventional corporate America. We bring the experience from the 15 plus years, 30 combined. But street smarts to me is what my background is, how I was brought up and raised, what I saw, and the combination of them both to make me who I am today. So who am I?
Yeah.
So I was born and raised in Washington Heights, uptown, baby.
Yay.
So uptown, Washington Heights, the Heights, depending on where you're from, what you call us. But, you know, lived in a couple of different areas, Washington Heights, Dykeman, Inwood, Harlem was my last stop before going to Westchester, and I'm going to New Jersey next. But what does that look like for me? So my entire childhood, you know, I'm a combination of Puerto Rican and Cuban, grew up in a predominantly Dominican area, Latin American, all Hispanic, Spanish speakers. So, you know, the things that I had that are hard to overcome, you know, me as a woman, because I think men in my community, you know, had different challenges. Like I walked down the street and I didn't notice any gangs. Because I guess I also had those like, you know, unicorn and little girl things in my head. And I never noticed.
Bubble.
What I noticed is, oh, there's a group of men across the street. Let me cross the street to avoid that. Or what do I look like that day? I feel fat. All the other women are skinny, you know, like those type of things. You know, let me take the 1 train, the 9 train, if anyone's 9 train, because they did away with that. You know, and my commute into the city, you know, I my bubble was Washington Heights. You know, all I knew was black and brown. You know, then I ended up going to school downtown, and it was like, you know, a whole new world, and it was different for me, and I had to learn, you know, how to use chopsticks. Disclaimer: I still don't know how to use chopsticks to save my life, and I don't pretend anymore. I own that I will never learn how to use chopsticks. That's another conversation.
Forks for sushi, people. Forks for sushi.
Forks save lives. So, you know, I say all of this to mean because these all built insecurities for me that I had to overcome. So, you know, being a plus size woman in a not so plus size world, we're not talking about 2022 where body positive, there's a lot of availabilities for a plus size culture. I didn't have that 20 years ago. I was like shopping at Sears and wearing men's jeans is what my mom would get me. No offense, mom. I love you. But that's all that was available to me, which created insecurities about what other women look like, what I look like. It was the hood, my father was a superintendent for the building, so we lived in the basement. So that also caused, insecurities, because I wouldn't bring friends over because I was insecure about where I lived and how I lived. Fast forward to where I am now, all of that was humble beginnings to the platform I've created for myself, what I strive to provide to my daughter, what I want for myself, and how hard my parents worked to give me what they gave me.
Yeah.
I come from the family dynamics like anyone else's family, very close. But everyone talks about each other, more everybody talks about each other. There's always someone as a topic of a conversation. So for me, that also was challenging, learning about myself and dealing with family dynamics, which also talked about, the boys versus the girls, or this versus that family, or skinny versus plus size, or fat, whatever you want to call it. Fat is not a bad word. I'll feel a little fat today. It's probably because I had nachos.
Definitely fat people. But okay.
So this is me in a nutshell. Family still to this day is the core of my being. Now I just have a family of my own. All the struggles and things that I put a presence on when I was younger, worrying about my size, how people viewed me. I was an insecure introvert, believe it or not. Now I'm like an extrovert, and I'm like, but I was very insecure, and that came with introversion because of my not knowing or having my voice, which translated to the woman that I am today, which is I don't want to not have a voice, and I fight for my voice. And now I'm just trying to balancing, the angry Hispanic woman, and like saying, okay, I don't need to have my voice here, but everyone knows I have it.
Yeah.
So that was really like, my childhood. I've made a million mistakes along the way of learning and growing as a person, and we'll go through all of that. You'll all learn about our failed relationships, our mistakes throughout it. But I think that learning where I grew up is defines who I am today. I like to think that I'm well-rounded from growing up in a predominantly Hispanic area. Now I've traveled the world, I've seen culture, I've seen diversity, and I love it and lead it in my career as well now. So that's a little bit about me, BK. Do you think I missed anything, or do you want to keep
No,
going?
that was awesome, actually. I think that was a good summary, synopsis of who she is and where she came from and why she's so passionate and driven, because a lot of our drive comes from where we, came from and how we grew up.
And I try to be a glass half full now. I think you and I share that with our energy. We can read energy and feel it. I spent too much of my life, 20 plus years, worrying about what other people thought and spending too much time unhappy. So now I'm spending the rest of my life just smiling, enjoying, taking chances. Like, it has really changed. Like, things are
creating your life.
Things are blowing up around me at work, and I don't even have a reaction to it, which now is apparently one of my strengths, like how I deal with my pressure situations. And I'm just kind of like, no one's died from an administrative emergency. Like, that email didn't get sent. We will all live. Like, it's okay. All right, Brandy, I'm eager to know more about what makes you tick. What's your upbringing, and how do our followers get to know what makes you a misfit?
Well, so I grew up in a little small town in Ohio called Dayton, and my Gym City friends and family would say, we're not a town, we're a city, and it's the truth. But to New Yorkers or people who come from big cities, we are a little town, we are a little city, but it packed a big punch. I grew up in a big African-American family. When I say big, I mean big, meaning I am the baby of 3 girls. And I have a host of aunts and uncles and first and second cousins where we all grew up as brothers and sisters. So you can imagine what grandma's house was like on Sundays in my earlier years. And we're a big, boisterous family. So I think that a lot of my personality comes from growing up in a big family, having to stand your ground, having to fight, having to compete, being able to laugh, share, have sisterhood and brotherhood with people. So I'm not awkward in that way. I think that that's one of my assets, in that I can, take criticism and I can give it just as good, kind of thing. And that's the muscle that you develop by having to, keep your position. Fast forward when I graduated high school, I ended up in a 4-girl singing group, an R&B group that landed me in New York. And that's a whole spiel that I'm not going to go into right now. But I will say that it was the beginning of my independence, so to speak. And the town that I grew up in was pretty much Black and white. There were no Hispanics. There were no Asian people. There were no other cultures. So imagine, Black girl from a little small town in Ohio driving into 125th Street and Broadway at 18 years old with, you know, trains and bodegas. And, the first time I got to New York, I walked into a bodega and saw somebody as Black or brown as me speaking Spanish. And I was in complete culture shock. Like, what the hell? There's Black people that speak other cultures. Like, I was like literally in culture shock. So I fell in love with New York. You could never drag me away from it, at least not until now. But the first, I would say maybe 10 years or so of my career in New York was all sort of music related. I always kept an administrative job to pay the bills, but I was always a free spirit at heart. So I spent a lot of that time in music and in studios, and that is a very different culture than corporate, which is why, I didn't feel any way about going to go get all of my tattoos. Everybody in the music industry has tattoos, sort of thing. So I never really thought that I would be in corporate in the industry that I'm in. I had a vision of being in corporate in music. I thought that I was going to be the next Sylvia Rome, signing artists and working out deals and working out publishing deals and all that good stuff. And I did pretty good for myself in terms of publishing, but it did not pay the bills the way that I needed to. So I decided to jump into corporate. Really didn't have a vision for it, really didn't understand insurance at that time. Like I don't think people even graduate college and think about a career in insurance. It's just not one of those, it's just not one of those,
passion is life
yeah.
insurance.
It's just not one of those sexy, industries that's toted to you when you're, thinking about what you want to be in life. But, serendipity or whatever had me become a intern at a financial advisor's office, and the rest is history. And I think that this conversation started with us just trying to figure out how our street smarts helps us in corporate. And I would say just the diversity of people. I think that being around diverse people, having grown up in a situation, where, I'm an 80s baby. So I remember a time when, friends of mine, at 6 and 7, that we used to play together and all that stuff, and the crack era hit. And all of a sudden you didn't see those friends anymore. And you started to see the diminishing of those parents. That's a really, really hard life to watch and see around you as a young kid. Even though I came from a very good family, we were kind of a bubble, but your parents really can't keep you from the environment that you're in. You're going to see, if you live in the hood, you're going to see crackheads. If you're, if you're in the beauty salons in the hood, you're going to find boosters. Like that's just the, life, the hard, rugged truth of how some people live. So I think, understanding that humbles you a little bit. So when you get to a place where you're able to, like Isabel said, not put your family through a situation where they have to go through that, and really, have a vision for more, it really, really humbles you. So I think, I take that even into corporate. Just a very humble, I love fires. Like, I don't mind jumping into them because I'm used to fighting them. It's not like a huge thing. I don't mind a good debate. I'm really good at debating. I mean, I come from a family where you may get cursed out at a spades game. It just is what it is, and we, hug and everything is great afterwards. So I think I bring that kind of passion to corporate too, that I don't know that my peers are really used to until they see it, but I'm able to use that too. So
that's something we always shared in common. And I didn't mention it, but the sports aspect, like you love basketball. I'm
oh my God.
baseball.
Yeah.
I grew up playing softball for many years. which I think also like brings that, community teamwork aspect of who we are at the core. And I met some of Brandy's family. She has a beautiful family, very welcoming. So, I'm very close to family too. So it's a lot of commonalities. Like we talk about being two different walks of life, but just so much commonalities in how we were brought up, spirituality, family, faith,
big,
like everything that we have as core values and is the same. We're very aligned. And then we have like other times we'll talk about how like some of the past of our lives have been relationships and timing and just so much that we have in common. So like this, us crossing paths, I don't think is any way, shape, or form a coincidence. It was just like your, business friendship,
accountability partner guides.
This is like you guys do. It would be just wrong if we didn't, right?
Yeah.
So with all of that, why we share all of this about who we are is because it dictates who we are. Like, we've gone through so many things in life. We're talking about our childhood, but our adulthood came with even more baggage and tears and lessons and all of the in between. But it sets the foundation of who we are, because with Brandy's big family and being the baby, you definitely have to fight when you're the baby. And I'm the complete opposite. I am numero uno. I am the oldest cousin, oldest sibling. It's only me and my brother, but I'm the oldest across the board. So we had two different fightings, I'm the one that's like, making decisions and living by mistakes and example for everyone else, right? That's a different challenge, but it also leads with the type A aggressive, because when you're fighting, and then when you're the top of the pyramid of the cousins and siblings, you're the one that's like used to being in charge, right? You're like mom number two.
I mean, and listen, when you're the baby, when you're the baby, you're trying to carve out a path. In other words, you don't want to follow everybody else. I mean, you've seen all of the mistakes, so you don't want to make the mistakes of the people before you.
You're like, I'm
not. And for me, I've really, really fought for independence in terms of wanting just to be my own self, wanting to carve out my own path. And my family will probably tell you that, I'm probably the, free spirit of the family.
And that's, I think, something else that we had in common, because I spent all those years overthinking and not doing that. Like 25, and it was like, I'm getting a tattoo, I want to travel, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it became this like free spirit as well. Like now being a wife and mom, I think that we're both a little tied down a little bit, but we still, even starting this business is us saying we're going to do. It's
part of that. It's still part of that core.
It's still part of our core of wanting more and being ambitious. So we say highly motivated hustlers helping others achieve success and overcome unstuck in their careers, right? So we talk about our street smarts. We've both seen drugs, prison time. We've seen it all. Definitely, different variations of it. But that street smarts, well, let's talk about street smarts a little bit. What I've learned is hustling, learning why people hustle to provide, to be providers, to accomplish. Sometimes it takes a lot of digging in to accomplish something, and everyone has to do what they have to do to get by, right? Dropping things here. So for me, hustling is seeing my family go out, work multiple jobs to provide, like just thinking outside the box, trying to accomplish as much as they could. I have so much family that have tried different job opportunities, different little side hustles to accomplish things, so that instilled in me hustler mentality. Like, you can't sit still and things are just going to come to you. I'm not a trust fund baby. I mean, we welcome any kind of donations from trust fund babies. We
seriously
sugar daddy, sugar mamas, whoever believes in us and wants to donate.
Who needs to get unstuck.
Not a trust fund baby, unfortunately. So for me, the hustler mentality is what was instilled in me. Because I'm second generation here, so I've seen what my first generation family, Cuban and Puerto Rican, have both done to survive. And I'm like, okay, I see what you've done to set the path for me, and now it's like, okay, now it's my time to hustle and how to provide for my little one.
I think that mine is, I'll always say, and I'm paraphrasing here, so Beehive, don't come after me, but I remember Beyonce saying something about, the difference between her and Jay-Z is that her drive doesn't come from her trying to come to get up out of something, but to create a legacy based off of, the hard work that she saw her parents do. So I kind of feel that way.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's spot on.
I know that, it's not that I haven't seen it, I haven't been around it. I mean, listen, I was in the music industry for 10 years. You don't see more drugs than than in that particular situation, just having to navigate that in and of itself. But I do come up from a great family. My father he was the director of the American Red Cross, where, he basically helped displaced people find homes. So watching a father that did that, he was so passionate about it. It also, put a lot in him to make sure that we didn't end up as some of those women that he saw who were abused, who were on drugs, who were, going to jail so, a lot of our upbringing came from him, wanting to make sure that we knew our self-worth and make sure that we knew to be of service. And my mother was an executive assistant, a Black woman executive assistant, for one of the biggest CEOs in the world, really, which was unheard of in that time for her. So I look at her as a woman that pioneered in that particular era, and it gives me such drive because as children, you should want to do better or be better or extend the legacy of your parents. So I think I'm the baby, so I think I got a little bit of, half and half of them in that situation.
I think everything that you just said was so eloquently said about your family, and it made me reflect back on mine. And just to say, first of all, my mom is an executive assistant as well.
Yeah.
So that's another coincidence.
Imagine that.
We didn't put that together until this moment. But my mom is in investment banking. And, you always talk about your dad's, philanthropy and helping, is it philanthropy, humanitarian, just supporting back to the community. And, my dad, he was more blue collar or is blue collar and breaks his body. Well, broke his body, he's retired now, but to provide for us, he always had multiple jobs and doing anything to put food on the table, whether it be handyman jobs or anything, but literally physically breaking his body to provide for us. So I think that combination of both of our parents, they have instilled in us the ability to work as hard as we can to accomplish things and give back. My dad is a huge community man as well. Like he can talk to anyone about anything. So I think that we both have that as well, and why we're here, because we are about community and giving back, and we want to pay forward our education, our experience. Our experience is really the biggest value add that we have in this discussion, because there's so many people like us that had to claw their way to wherever they are, or they're going to have to claw their way, because if you're listening to us across the country, across the world, this world isn't easy for women. It isn't easy for colored women, it isn't easy for plus size women. There is, tattooed women. There's so many different things holding us back, depending on your employer. They give us a platform, but you have to stay in there. You can't go over here, in this salary range, you can't go to that. So there's so many things like holding us back. So you and I sharing our skills is going to help people propel their career. So we're excited. We're already started. The gears are moving for our e-courses. We share in every episode, we plug the ABCDs guide, but that's really like our first
fundamental,
showing you what we're made of and showing you how we're going to help you get unstuck. Next to come, BK, you're working on this and I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
We're going to get it out. It's going to be the smash goals.
Yes.
Help people smash their goals, right? This is just marketing gold right here.
Yeah, no, seriously.
We're taking from the ABCDs to smashing your goals.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we take you through a self-reflective exercise that makes you figure out who you are, like all the stuff that we just talked about, all that street smarts and corporate experience, all of those things smashed together makes up our little avatars. And we've used all of what we could from our upbringing, from our education, from our experience in work and corporate, from our drive and all those things. And created a template for you, basically how to figure out like what your high value skills are, where are your blind spots, where is some of where you came from holding you back, and what do you need to shed in order for you to see a better self for you, in order for you to move forward with that vision. And then the smash goals is just going to help you put everything into perspective and put it in a plan so that you can actually execute on that ish, like seriously.
Get us together. We believe in you. And now we're creating everything. Like we're putting a lot of time and effort into this opportunity of paying it forward, because this is free. ABCD, Smash Goals, all free resources. And we have a laundry list of other free resources that we are going to be creating for everyone. So obviously, as always, go to misfitsplugged.com and subscribe to our newsletter. It'll keep you up to date. We're going to be building a resource library on our website that's going to be storing all of these things in the future, but now we send it out to you so you have it. So as always, follow, subscribe, like, share. Don't keep us a secret.
That's right.
Share. We're building a community of misfits, so that, you know, includes your community. So share this out to anyone that you feel is stuck in their career and they need some resources and engagement. We are live and interactive, so engage with us on our Instagram.
Yes.
So BK, you want to bring us home with your final thoughts?
So I'm going to leave you guys with the quote of the day, which is, persistence will get you where perfection can't.
Love it. Guys, write it down, live it today. We hope you love this. We'll see you next episode.
Bye, Misfits.
Bye.